begin. And I'm going to share my screen so that we can begin this wonderful session that we have lined up for you today. Okay, so of course, leadership is quite a challenging skill to be able to acquire, and it becomes even more so when we think about leading from a distance, when we don't have our team physically with us in a shared office space, for example. So David is going to talk about all of those challenges and how you can be an effective leader, both if you are doing it in person, but also, and more specifically, if you are remote. So who is David and why have we asked him to be a part of this session and kick off this guest speaker series with him? Well, he is originally from France, and he is an executive coach, and he is head of an HR consultancy that's based in Spain. He has a number of different degrees that he has been awarded, and is a coaching processes and advanced coaching licensed coach from TSOC with a certification by IAC back in 2011. He has studied psychoanalysis, so it is easy for him to be able to understand, shall we say, the psychological aspects, the emotional aspects that can drive us to be different kinds of leaders. And he is an executive coach who helps people, specifically executives, people in managerial positions, to pivot and make a career change, for example, or to be able to optimize performance, both of themselves and of their team, through effective leadership techniques, time management, etc. He already has written a book. Currently, it is in Spanish. And so if any of you speak Spanish, it's available on Amazon. And he's the author of the book, Your Life Without Stress. And he's also a speaker and a lecturer. And he's also a host of a Spanish language radio show, En la mente del nuevo líder, which means in the mind of the new leader, in Cultura FM. I am Laura Perez. For those of you who are our SSBR students, I'm sure that you are all familiar with me. I am a professor and a PhD mentor, and I am also the marketing manager here at SSBR. I originally am from New York, hence the accent, but born to Spanish parents, and I have a marketing degree. My background is in marketing. I have a marketing degree from EADA Business School, and I have a media studies degree from Queens College in New York City. I created my own small business and ran it for over 12 years in a niche market, and I am a marketing business consultant as well as part of the faculty here at SSBR. So without further ado, let me pass this on over to David so that he can begin. David, whenever you're ready.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Laura, for the presentation. Can you hear me? Can you see me correctly?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you. Thank you.
Okay, great, perfect. So I'm going to share the screen. I cannot share the screen. I cannot share it actually, Laura, because I have the option say, okay. Oh, now I can, yes.
I just did it. Thank you.
Yes, you just did it. Perfect. So I'm going to put it as a presentation just where you left. Okay, great. So welcome to everybody. Thank you again for the presentation, Laura. So we are going to talk today about, yes, indeed, about leadership. We are going to talk about first having an introduction about what means leading people in a business environment, what's the difference between leading and managing people. And behind that, we are going to see which are the best styles of leaderships. And within the leadership styles that we have, let's say, available in the way we can lead people, there are actually most efficient leadership styles that we are going to focus a bit more on. And based on that, once we know what is managing, what is leading people, we are going to enter more into the challenge that the leaders are actually facing today. I mean, today and for the last 2 years now, which is a remote leadership. We could name that this leadership that way. That means that how to basically manage and lead people from the distance. So we are going to basically point out which are the 5 key challenges of the leader who has to be in contact with these teams from the distance. And I will give you some concrete tips in order to lead people, to lead teams efficiently remotely. Okay, good. So first question is basically what's the difference between leading and managing? Because I have this question which is coming out quite often in the training session I give, and also in the one-to-one coaching sessions that I give in companies, and also in business school, is what's the difference between a leader and a manager? What's the difference between a leader and a boss, basically someone who is just, let's say, managing projects and making sure that the results can be actually reached. Actually, I will go through it a bit deeper after. The key difference between the leader and the manager is that the leader is really results oriented. That means that the manager is here to make sure that the goals are reached, that any projects he has to manage, any project he has to deal with is going to do it correctly, and the goals are going to be achieved as expected. The leader should also obviously have the same results focus as the manager. But on top of this results focus, he also has another focus, another concern, which is the people orientation. That means that the leader is able to reach the results, but at the same time to make sure that the people who will help him to reach these goals are going also to feel motivated and to maintain this motivation. Okay? So that means that before being a leader, I firstly need to be a manager, because in a business environment, obviously it's important to be able to have people motivated and considered and feeling well in the company. But of course, if we are in a business context, we need to make sure that the results are reached, because otherwise we will have an issue at some point. So first I need to have some management skills before then developing the leadership skills, which will help me not only to reach the result, but also to make sure that my teams remains motivated, constant, responsible, etc. Okay, so we are going to see a bit more in detail which are these management styles, and within these management styles, which are the styles which are actually leadership styles. Okay, and then from this, we are going to see which are the most efficient ones. Okay, so which are the different management styles? So here I'm going to enter like into the different ways of behaving with people, the different way of managing and leading people. So you will see that there are actually 11 styles, and for each one, we are going to see that there are positive aspects and negative aspects, because at the end, when we are talking about people and human behaviors, it's never totally black and white, black or white. So that means that for each one, I'm going to cover quickly which are the positive aspects of the style, and what are the, let's say, what is the bad side. So here we have the first 4 styles. So the authoritative, the democratic, the liberal, and the bureaucratic. So if we start with the authoritative, we tend to think sometimes that this style is, let's say, not very efficient or not very positive, obviously, because if we have had the experience to have a kind of authoritative manager we had to report to, obviously at some point we may have felt some frustration or some difficulties. But at the end of the day, we still have authoritative person in companies, and they are not generally, not necessarily often, but they are actually efficient. And so that's the reason why we have managers who are following these styles. Because within this style, we tend to have people who are kind of perfectionists, and this person are professionals we can trust in the sense that every time we give them like a specific project, a specific task, we can pretty be sure that the outcomes, the correct outcomes will be reached. So which is very important in a business environment, of course. What's the negative side? So as you can imagine, having to deal with an authoritative manager means that at some point I may not feel that my point of view is really listened. I might feel a bit stressed, a bit pushed. So at the end, I can start feeling stressed and tired, which obviously has a negative effect on the medium and long term, because this will create a higher turnover and people are leaving. So we need to recruit new person and train them, etc. And obviously the climate is affected. Then we have the democratic style. So the democratic style is a very good one also, in the sense that it consists in actually taking into account the opinions of the different team members. So that means that the members of the team are actually feeling obviously listened, and so that creates a well-being and also an effectiveness, because the let's say the decision which is taken is already, we know that it's going to be well received by the team because it has been initially checked with them. The negative point, let's say, that it will be obviously complicated to be democratic if I have, for instance, 60% in my team, 60% in my team, because I do not have physically the time to ask for each person's opinions. On top of that, every time I will have, as a manager or as a leader, to take a difficult decision that I know that will not be correctly received, it will not be so popular. Obviously, this will create a problem because I will never get the approval from my team, because some decisions obviously are taken and are not always positive for the team. Then we have the liberal style. So the liberal style consists in leaving to the members of the team the freedom to do the task the way they want. So that's a bit the contrary of the authoritative here, because it's not so controlling the things. The only thing that the liberal is controlling is basically the results. Okay, so which is good because people feel naturally more responsible, but this creates concrete problem when the professionals who are part of the team are not senior enough, and so they can create basically some mistakes due to this lack of control. Then we have the bureaucratic. The bureaucratic style, it consists in basically following some specific processes step by step in order to make sure that the business result can be reached. Okay, so we can find this kind of leadership in, for instance, in a big consulting company or in the banking companies, etc. Negative side is that obviously if I'm, let's say, stuck into these processes, I feel as a professional that I do not have so much creativity possible, accepted. I cannot be so much proactive. And obviously all the innovative ideas are not so easily received by the managers. Then we have 4 other styles. We have the charismatic one. So the charismatic, the natural, the social, and the project focus. The charismatic is obviously, as we all have a clear idea generally of this style, which is basically a person with a lot of dynamism and energy, would generally reach the result he wants with any kind of way he can find out. What the negative side here is that sometimes a charismatic person is so, let's say, in the spotlight that when he's not present, the team can tend to wait for the charismatic person, the charismatic leader to come back, because we can have like this kind of dependence that is created from the team members to the charismatic leader. Okay, then we have the natural. So the natural, it will be a person who gives a lot of, not only a lot of freedom, but who is respecting the values of each member of the team. So he will leave, for example, leave earlier the office because of this the personal constraints that this person could have. Or he will treat a bit, he will accept that the treatment could be different from a person to another because the values are different. So that could be a bit seen as a lack of fairness, that can also create a kind of chaos into the team. Then we have the social style. So the social style is a person who is listening a lot to each person of the team, who is really taking care of each member, active listener, and a person who tends to be very available for the other, very empathic generally also. Negative points, obviously, again, if I have a big team, that would be very difficult and very time consuming to have this level of careness, let's say, of this level of consideration. And also this can be also a profile of person who are maybe too available, who may have some difficulties to say no, to put limits, and sometimes this person can even take on herself, on himself, responsibilities that actually should not be part of their direct responsibilities. So that can create delay and a decrease in efficiency. Project focus. So the project focus is a person who is very dynamic also, and when persons that when you give him or her a project, he's going to do or she's going to do whatever needs to be done to reach the result and to reach the deadline. So a person who is very efficient very efficient to reach the goals. At the same time, sometimes it's this kind of personality, let's say, of behaviors that it's sometimes difficult to follow. Persons that maybe during a project timing, they do not count the number of hours they are going to work. So it might create a bit of stress inside the team, because this person might sometimes forget a little bit the well-being of the team, even if it's a person who is also driven and always with this energy is also capable to motivate the members. And then we end up with the last two ones, which is the transactional and the transformational. So the transactional, I tend to say that this style is a bit old-fashioned in the sense that it is based on the idea that to motivate a person, I need to give to this person a compensation. That could be a bonus, that could be an increase in the conditions. So obviously, I will motivate my team through an external compensation, so that an extrinsic motivation in that case. So obviously, we can see that this kind of motivation has its own limits, because we are obviously not only motivated by money and by conditions, but also by many other things like the recognition, the self-realizations, to making sure that we are doing something that we are really enjoying, etc. So also this can stimulate some people, but then that can also create a bit of stress for other person, and that can limit the creativity, because people basically are working to get their compensation and they are not really thinking about how to do the things better. And the transformational, which is a very good style, is a style which consists in being able basically to identify the talents, the values, and how my people, my teams are able to feel self-realized. So we enter here in the concept of professional mission. What do I need to give to my team members for them to feel realized in the task, in the missions they will be handling? Okay. So there is a lot of high recognition of the talents of each one. This is a person also who trusts he is not like the social, actually. He knows or she knows that people are really capable. And once I am capable to see which is the talent, the competencies of my people, I can be sure that I can reach very, very great results. Obviously, again, this takes time, and this requires like the necessity to adapt the different roles, the different responsibility to each person, again, according to the competencies and talents. If the person who is very analytical, I should, in that case, give to this person like all the more data-oriented tasks. For a person who is very like sociable, I will try to give to this person a mission which could be more related to client management, for instance. But sometimes it's not always possible to do this place. Good. So all this theory to end up with this 10 styles. So as I was saying before, we have first management styles, but within these management styles, there are styles that will not be necessarily leadership ones. So for that, just to clarify even more what's the difference, actually there is a model that has been created by Black and Newton, so two psychologists who did a lot of studies about the concept of leadership. Here on the slide, I think you can see quite clearly what are the difference between the leader and the manager. The management style are styles which are prioritizing the business results. The leadership style is also prioritizing the business result, but at the same level as the people focus. Okay. Sometimes we tend to think that the leader is more oriented to people, but actually not. At least it should not be, because if we prioritize people well-being, but at the expense of the business result, we would be in that case, according to this model, into a recreative people manager, but we would not be still in a leadership style. Okay, so the question is, within this 10 styles, there are actually 7 styles which are leadership, but which are not management. So which are this one? Actually, we can remove 3 of them, which are the authoritative, the natural, and the bureaucratic. Okay, why? I mean, the authoritative and bureaucratic, I think it's quite clear, because if I am an authoritative or bureaucratic person, I am basically tending to put the business result as a priority on top of people ideas or people creativity, so people considerations. Okay, the natural will be also a person who in that case will not be in the leadership, because it gives too much freedom actually to the people, to the professionals, so we would not be also at the same balance, we will not have the same concern on results and on people. This is a style that we also call laissez-faire as a French word in the HR field. Okay, so that means that we have actually 7 leadership styles. Okay, democratic, liberal, charismatic, social, project-focused, transactional, and transformational. Each one has their pro and cons, but these styles are actually focusing on business result and also on people consideration. Something I wanted also to add is, obviously, the reason why leadership is actually very well valued inside the company, and we tend to look for leaders more than manager at the time of leading people, at the time of managing teams. It is because if I put this level of concern at the same level, I will finally optimize my results on the long term. Because even if sometimes I could say, okay, yes, but the manager will be very strict, will be very straightforward, and the result will be reached. And that's right, but that's fine on the short term. The fact is, I add on top of that a consideration on people motivation, on people well-being. People will obviously, as being more motivated, there are a lot of studies that demonstrated that when people are motivated, when people feel considered, actually they are more productive. This increases the personal productivity. So if I have people more productive, this will, at the end of the day, also contribute to improve and to optimize the business results. So that's why it will always be more efficient on the long term to have a leadership style due to this to focus on business and people. This said, within that 7 leadership style, not all the styles are as efficient. Not all the styles has the same level of efficiency. Actually, we could remove, let's say, three styles which are not, let's say, putting the same importance again on business goals and people well-being. And actually, there's 3 slides that we should remove are the liberal, the project focus, and the transactional. So why should we remove these styles? I mean, they still they are still a leadership style, but they are not seen as the most efficient style because the liberal, obviously, we said, it gives, I mean, it's a person who is concerned, obviously, about the result, but due to this freedom, which sometimes cannot be correctly adapted to the level of seniority or to the level of knowledge of the team, there is a risk of mistakes in the projects that are managed by the team. So obviously, there is a risk in terms of business result in that case. The transactional and the project focus, it's actually the contrary. Here, we focus sometimes on this, in these two slides, a bit more on business goals at the detriment sometimes of people's well-being. Okay, because the transactional, I said it before, people need more things to be motivated. So that's okay. That's a style that consider people in order to make sure that they can maintain this motivation. But the way of motivating people, let's say that is not elaborated enough, because again, we need also other kind of motivation on top of the compensation bonuses and let's say financial compensations. And the project focus also, it's a person motivate, we really driving people, motivating people, but sometimes this like it can tend to be a bit demanding, and this is a person that due to the rhythms or the way he works can be sometimes difficult to follow. So also again, some professional can have difficulties to work with this profile, which means that we end up with 4 styles. And what I want to highlight here is each style is let's say requiring some specific skills, which are basically soft skills. That means that if we start thinking about how is a democratic person will be actually a person who is empathic and will also have a strategic vision. A strategic vision in the sense that he knows when he should or she should ask for people's opinion and when it's better not to do it. The charismatic is a person who is going to be able to negotiate through this like energy and dynamism, a person who has this capacity to take risk and also who can control one's emotions. The social is a person also empathic, considering, listening the other, and also trusting the other, because the social leader knows and trusts people and is convinced basically that people can actually reach very good results. And the transformational, again, is this person who knows people, who has this curiosity first about people, and he knows how to detect which are their talents and their skills. Which means that the perfect leader should have all their skills that you can see now on the slide. And if you see on this one, you can see that there are different colors. Why there's colors? Because these are related to some management skills. For instance, empathy and persuasiveness. These are 2 skills that are really linked to the communication skills. If I am empathic, I am able through the communication to listen. Listening is actually a part of the communication skill. Sometimes we forget about it. It's not about talking, but it's also about listening when we converse. So this empathy will be able to create this social climate. And at the same time, with the persuasiveness will help me to drive people in the direction I think is correct. So the yellow skills will help me to basically manage a team in a good social climate. The confidence and the ability to take risks, these are 2 skills that will allow me to develop the delegation and empowerment, because obviously if I trust my team, I will have not any issue to delegate and to give them power. First, I need to trust myself. Also, sometimes that's a problem for the perfectionist, that I need to trust myself in order to also trust the other and like avoid this fear of committing mistakes. And based if I have this confidence, I will have also more facility to take risk. And this ability to take risk is basically related to the change management that we always and more are looking for as a key management skill in the companies. On top of that, we are also expecting the leader to have self-confidence in order also to be able to do great public speaking. Time management, obviously, time organization, and also capacity to be responsible, accountable, and also capacity to make his team or her teams responsible, feeling responsible on the different missions they have to manage. Okay, so everything to say that at the end, in order to be first a successful leader, we have actually quite a lot of work, because that means that we need to cover these different areas of skills. These skills are the basic ones, I would say, in order to develop an efficient leadership and in order to drive my team in a sustainable way to reach the best goals. This will also always be the skills that we need if we work presentially or if we work in a hybrid or remote way. Obviously, these skills will always be present and necessary. But now I will, now that we have understood what is a leader and what we should work on in terms of skill to be a very good leader, a very efficient leader, let's see now what's happening when we enter into this new remote work, because we have seen with the COVID crisis that a lot of leaders that we had to accompany, to coach, had some frustration and some difficulties to apply the skills that actually they were having, but in a remote environment, so from the distance. Okay, so why this is different? Which are the key challenges that the leader has now to face in order to maintain his or her efficiency remotely? So the first thing we need to understand is that now we have two paradigms to manage at the same time. That means that the leader now, at the time of leading and communicating with a team, have to take into account two different models and simultaneously. That means that when the leader does a meeting, he has to take into account that there is some people who are going to be presential and others that are going to connect remotely. And he needs to always have these two models in mind. That means that make sure that he communicates at the same frequency and in the same way to the different persons who are connected and who are actually physically present. Okay, so that's an hybrid reality that that has to be taken into account and always reminded in the way he will inform and communicate, so as to make sure that especially the people who are not present cannot feel like isolated. At the time also of motivating and consolidating the teams, we cannot wait for people to be present at the office to motivate them, obviously, because especially if we have now a lot of companies who are 100% remote companies. At the time also at the time of delegating, empowering, and at the time also of creating this relationship. Obviously, it may be obviously easier to create empathic relationship when we have person in front of us physically with us, but we can still develop and maintain empathic relationship remotely, and this is something we need to work on, and this is actually one of the things that I'm going to talk a bit more after. The second challenge is that we talk now about a liquid leadership style that needs to be developed. That means that we are actually requiring much more flexibility from the leaders, even more than before. Obviously, flexibility and adaptability is not something that is new as a required skill from a leader, but now it's at another level. And for that, we have seen in the companies that we had to go through an upskilling process, which means basically that we need to develop new skills or to optimize some of the skills that the leader has related to what you can see on the slide, related to how to optimize their productivity and how to help to optimize the productivity of their teams. In terms of collaboration, in terms of time management, we have seen also that the remote work is also giving some challenges for some people in terms of time management, because also there is more distraction when I work from home, maybe. And also, there is not such the same structure in terms of time and in terms of space as I can have if I go to the office every day. So this will require really a stronger development of the time management skill and the organization. Also, in terms of work-life balance, in terms of tech knowledge, of course, that's the basic, but not everybody was so tech savvy. So that means also some concrete trainings were needed to the leader to manage all the technological platforms to maintain this contact with the team, and also some flexibility. Okay, more flexibility than ever. More flexibility than ever. Actually, that's the third challenge. Okay, that means that actually, this flexibility is strongly linked to the trust. That means that now I cannot, as a leader, control the hours, the working hours of my team. And even still, I cannot control what they are doing when they are in front of their screen. Actually, so that means that leaders have to be more open to the new ways of working, need to be more flexible in how the teams will decide to work as long as the results are achieved. That means that all the norms, all the ways of working that maybe each one may have in our mind, because we think that we're thinking that we should work that way. Now we have seen that the leaders have to be much softer, much more open to in terms of working norms. Again, more productivity oriented. Leaders now have definitely to focus more on results and deadlines. That's the reality. There is no other point. And for that, what I was saying just before, this required directly, this implied a higher trust. I need to trust my team, which was again the basic. You have seen that one of the skill was the confidence, self-confidence, but also the confidence I have with my team. Now it's really more than necessary. That's crucial for the leader to have this trust. Less control and more empowerment. That means that if I control less, okay, I can accept it, but this has to come along with more delegation, and more than delegation, more empowerment, because as I cannot do like any micro management, obviously that was even difficult for the leader before. Obviously that was not the most efficient way of leading people, but now it's impossible. So that means that leaders have to leave much more independence to the members of their teams, and this has allowed, this has generated a new team structure that we call the fractal teams. That means that when you have a leader who had many person, for instance, 50% to manage, to lead, in that case, for some specific projects, obviously, maybe we had like a team of 15% who had to work together. Now, 15% working remotely is really highly challenging. That means that the leader have developed what we call the fractal team, which are basically shorter teams with less person, like maybe 3, 4, maximum of 5 person in the team. This team are completely autonomous. A leader is defined in this team, so we know who is going to be the leader of this 5 or 5 person. And I also extend this autonomy to the point that I give them the possibility to take their own decision. I take them the power, let's say, to redefine at some point the objectives that was initially taken, obviously always informing the leader, but I need here to apply more agile methods. Why I mean, one of the reasons is obviously the remote model will require actually the shorter team, because otherwise it will be very complicated, much more complicated. And also this fractal team with 4 or 5 people are actually more efficient, because it has been also proven that there is a lower risk of conflicts, of blocking decisions, and so it will be much easier to go ahead quicker. Okay. And the other challenge is the time management. So we mentioned it before, and the task redesign. We cannot, and that's something actually that is still happening, but we should at some point put a stop on it. We cannot actually do the same task at home than at the office. That doesn't make so much sense. The tasks that are done at home should be the tasks that actually require a focus, that do not require any team collaboration, any teamwork, and also tasks that actually require, yes, this level of concentration, because I need to be allowed to do it. Okay, so obviously the administrative tasks, for example, can be the tasks that should be at home, should be done at home. But when I go to the office, I should actually have in my agenda other kind of actions. This is when I should optimize the number of meetings. This is when I should do some specific tasks that require the feedback. And this is also when I should do all the missions that really require some teamwork, making sure that the people I need to work with are actually in the office at the same time as I am, because that, again, that doesn't make any sense to go at the office to work with people remotely. Okay, so that requires a lot of reorganization on the agenda, making sure that these fractal teams, for instance, can be in the office at the same moment, at the same days. Okay, and then to finalize, I would like to give like 6 tips, let's say 6 directions for you to have like a more concrete, let's say, idea of how we should start behaving, how we should start communicating in order to effectively lead people from this distance. So the first one is regarding communication. I mean, again, that's not new. We expect the leader to be transparent, but not now. We are more than expecting this, something, again, that we cannot be efficient if we do not communicate transparently as a leader. We need to use more the written communication, because the written communication is something that will make sure that we are really clear on what has been agreed during a meeting and what we are going to do. Okay, so I need to rely even more on this written communication, because I do not have so many opportunities now on a remote world to cross the person and to remind to this person what we said. Okay. We need also, in terms of communication, to be transparent and to be cautious with the words we use, okay? Because we will, again, we won't have so many opportunities, again, to re-explain ourselves and to give all the context. So we need to be careful about the exact word and what is the meaning that we want to transmit, okay? All the complicated, challenging, let's say tricky communications that we have to have with a member of our team should be done through a video conference, or even better, on a face-to-face. Okay, that means that if we are in an hybrid model, obviously it's better to have a face-to-face conversation if we have like a specific negative feedback, for instance, to give to one of our collaborators, or if it's not possible, to use the video, obviously, and not use the written communication or just the phone call. We need the leader needs also to observe his team more than ever, okay? Because again, there is less chance to perceive people's emotions, because at the end of the day, the leader we only see, well, the face and not so much. And actually, this is a non-verbal communication that gives me more information than what I say, than the verbal communication. So, but the non-verbal communication is also quite limited through a remote world, because I don't see how the person is moving, basically, what is the body language. I don't see it so clearly. So that means that I need to focus even more on the emotions that are transmitted through the facial expressions. Also, the tone of voice is something that will give, again, a lot of information. And that means that we need to put, like, as a leader, more focus than ever on this nonverbal communication in order to understand how are my team, how they are feeling, how they are expecting, to understand what they need again to be motivated or to maintain their motivation. Another thing which is very important and also again related to the communication is to speak with them on a daily basis. I remember that I had some leaders during the COVID who were at the beginning not seeing this necessity to speak with their teams on a daily basis because they didn't have so many new things to add on the task and on the projects they were handling. But if you think about it, actually, that's the case also in the physical, in the presential world. But still, even if we do not have new business information to give, we normally speak with our team members every day. So this should be maintained, actually. Because this is very important first for the person who are working remotely in order to feel part of the team, in order to have this conversation. I mean, now there is no more like coffee catch-ups because we don't cross each other on the coffee machine. So this is moments that I should recreate. And if I only expect like specific information that I need to deliver to my team to have this conversation, I might have some miscommunication or some issue in terms of motivation, in terms of consolidation within the team. Okay, so I need to check if my team is fine. And even if my team is fine, that's great, but I still need to have this virtual coffee catch-up every day. Okay, so basically this is something that is very common. The leaders do like a catch-up at like a daily meeting that they do at the very beginning, and they take a coffee together, and they can even repeat it at the beginning of the afternoon. Again, the other challenge, we said it, is that people need to be consolidated even if they are not in the same place. So how to make this happen? We need to try to organize meeting also all together, to try to find ways to make them collaborate. I need to always have in mind these two models to make sure that my way of communication and my way of behaving is very inclusive for the remote employee, for all the remote employees, wherever they are. And I need also to find some new opportunities to propose more transversal projects which will allow the remote people to work together. Okay, because maybe there's people who never have to work together or not so often in the presential world, but I should try to find some excuses, let's say, to make these people work together in order to also exchange ideas and also in order to remind them that they are part of the same team. Obviously, again, we need to empower and then obviously to trust them, which comes together. That means that I should not check the hours. I should not check so much what they are doing. I should actually check more how they are feeling and basically how are they doing, if they need some help, and making sure that they have all the resources they need and all the help they need to reach the results. But I need really to make them feel independent, because actually giving this empowerment, we will also allow to develop the responsibility of the person, because when the person understands and feels that actually there is no so much control on what he or she is doing, he will feel more responsible, and this also has an impact on the motivation. And also the last one, and maybe the most important thing, is at the end of the day, when we are far from other people, it can be more difficult to create a human connection. So that means that if I want to create empathy, and I need to create empathy, because empathy is having this, will allow, let's say, to make people of the same thing help each other when there is an issue. Okay, because being empathic is understanding, identifying, and feeling the emotion of the other. If there is no empathy, there will no possibility, or it will be much more difficult to help the other when actually we need this kind of help. Okay, so this distance has to actually be compensated by more empathy, and the empathy is contagious as well. The more empathic I am with you, the more also you will probably be with me. That means that as a leader, I need to have a boost in my, create a boost in my empathy. And what does that mean? Because sometimes it can be like a bit abstract, but this empathy has to be done through what we call the active listening, also through this catch-up, this virtual coffee that I was mentioning before, just asking and just listening what the other is telling, what the other needs, how the other is feeling, etc., and not so much talking. Like it could be like having a conversation when the leader is listening more than he's talking. Okay, using more the questioning aspect of the conversation to understand the intention of the other, the behavior, the feeling of the others, and be also again more tend to be more open or more flexible when there are some mistakes, because obviously we are human, so we do mistakes, but making sure that we focus more again on the solutions and on the mistakes. Okay, having more an attitude oriented to the solutions and not oriented to the fear of creating mistakes. Okay, so that will be some behaviors to take into account in order to develop this empathy, the active listening, the questioning, and the focus on solution when there are some issues or crises coming up. Good. So I've actually talked a lot, so I'm not so used to do that, because generally I do workshop where there are a lot of questions during the workshops. So just to finish, and before answering any question you may have, we also want to propose you as a bonus, a possibility, if you want to know more, and especially if you want to know more in your case, how to face some specific difficulties, some specific challenge you may have at the time of being a leader, an efficient leader, presentially or remotely. You can have access to one-to-one session with me of 1 hour. There are actually 4 vouchers which are available and offered for the SSBR students. So how to use your voucher? Basically, that's very simple. You just have to book your session before next week, the 29th of April, through this link. And so we only have 4, so that would be basically the first 4 we will take. We will have access to this one-to-one session with me. Okay.
Thank you, David. You can leave the screen on because I just have one more slide to go, and then we can begin with our question and answer session. Can you just go to the next slide, please?
Sure. Well, this is the last slide, or do you want me to follow?
Yes, the
next one.
Yes, and you can just let everything appear. I love animations. So first of all, thank you so much, David, because this was so interesting. I've been taking down notes because here at SSBR, we are also remotely located, as our students know. We are based all around the world, and the same is true of the marketing team. So I'm definitely going to take those tips, and beginning tomorrow, I'm going to put them into practice. And hopefully my team will be much more happy and much more motivated to do their work. So for those of you who have not yet decided to pursue your studies at SSBR, we have 3 different programs, as you can see here. You can log on to our website. David, if you can just click again, there's a lot of other text that I need to go through. Thank you. So we have 3 different types of degrees, and within those different types of degrees, we have a number of different programs. We have BBA degrees in business, we have MBA and masters in specific aspects of business, and then we have doctorate degrees, all related to business. And these really are our, shall we say, our stars, the most popular studies that we have here at SSBR. We have the PhD by portfolio, which is one of the most innovative programs, because this is the one that helps people who are like me and like you, David, who are at the cusp of their career, but want to excel and don't really know how more they can grow. Well, they take all of the professional experience, they put it into a capstone project, and within 1 year, they achieve their doctorate degree. The other programs that we have here, the PhD, Doctorate of Philosophy and Management, and the Doctorate in Business Administration. These are more traditional PhD degrees, traditional meaning that they are the type of doctorate degrees that require quite a lot of research. So it can take you anything from 5 to 10 to 15 years to complete. So definitely, if you are on the brink, reach out to our team and we can help you. As a little bit more about SSBR, well, as you know, we are all located remotely. All of the faculty have real life industry experience and are experts in the field of studies that they are teaching. We currently have over 53 nationalities studying at SSBR, from as far and as remote as Samoa. We have people in the United States, we have people in the UK, we have people really all around the world, South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Panama. The great thing about SSBR is that we truly offer a flexible experience. So those of you who are students, you guys already know, you have recorded sessions from your professors that you can view at any time. You have access to the materials whenever is most convenient for you. There's no specific date for assignments to be submitted, although the professors will, of course, be helping you and guiding you so that you don't take 3 years to complete something that is normally completed within 1 year, but it is truly a flexible experience. And intakes happen throughout the year. So we are not a business school where you just have to enroll and begin in September. And if you've missed the deadline, then you have to wait until next September. Not at all. We have different intakes happening throughout the year. And for example, we have our next intake kicking off in early May. So, and we also have practical learning methodology. We have where you can actually put into practice everything that you've just learned. Can you just click a few more times? And I think that's it. We are fully accredited. So we have the certification from EDUQUA, which is the Swiss Quality Education Certification. This is the Swiss authorities, which provide us with the authority to be able to award degrees. And we also have the OTHM accreditation, so that you are also getting an accreditation from the UK as well. And we are also a Google certified school. So if you can just click one last time, David, we are certified by Google. That means that we use Google Classroom and the entire G Suite in order to work and complete your studies at SSBR, which again gives our students an edge because you are working with the tools that you will be using in real life, and I'm sure that you already use in real life. So this is my 2 cents. Any questions? We can skip to the next slide. Now is the time for you guys to go nuts and begin asking away. If you want to turn on your cameras and turn on your microphones. If you want, you can also do it through the chat, whatever you prefer. Lokman Kessen, hello. Yes, you can begin. Do you have questions for David?
Good afternoon, Laura. Good afternoon, David. Good afternoon, all. If I may call you David and Laura. First of all, thank you very much for organizing this really very useful and nice event. I'm really impressed about the presentation, and David, especially to yourself. I'm really impressed about how you have started with the management styles and how you ended up with the effective and efficient leadership styles with the 6 valuable tips to bring all this leadership. So just to bring my background, so I have started to to study with SSBR within the last year. So I am relatively new, and one of the difficulties all of us are having is actually, as we are struggling with the difficulties with the COVID situation, as well as the difficulties with the remote communication. This is really very well event that we are coming together, and I hope we will be seeing more these type of events, which is also one of the fundamentals to have periodic or daily communication, especially in these remote situations. So I don't have actually any particular question regarding to what you have presented, but I just wanted to share that it's really very useful and efficient. It was very efficient presentation, as you have started with all of the types of the management, and then you have kind of in a very limited duration, you have made an analysis of all alternatives of the managementship and leadership style, so that in a way, I'm a technical person, and then I have studied engineering many years ago, and then in a way, you have proved these are the proven methods of leadership. So I am really impressed about, in a very limited time, you have brought so broad information about management and leadership style. My only comment, and as well, I would like to thank you for the offer for having one-to-one sessions. I will be one of the volunteers if I will be making in a timely manner. One of the comments I would like to bring is, I'm now working for NATO. And in one of the leadership development programs, we have been informed about a leadership style, which is actually, I was thinking that a combination of what you have told, but maybe it's only a naming convention, and then they call it situational leadership, which is bringing some flexibility to the leader, with the people that the leader the leading, because it is normal that every environment has different people working and a different culture, especially in the workplace as I am now as an international workplace, many cultures around, and then difficulties among different types of personalities, different types of let me say, traits and skills. I think the situational leadership is talking about bringing flexibility to the leader to apply different leadership styles to different people. So to bring more efficient and effective leadership with different cultures as well as different skills. That's the only comment I would like to bring, and which I was reading in the lines in between when you were talking about the leadership.
Okay, no,
that's the comment from myself. Over to you, please.
That's a very good comment, Lokman, because actually you're right that I didn't mention it, but when we end up with this for efficient leadership style, actually by definition, the leadership is a situational skill. That means that I cannot apply the same style, even if it's seen as efficient in all situations. I cannot be democratic 24/7. I cannot be social in all situations. So that's a very good point to mention it. That's the difficulty on top of that to be a good leader, because I need to know when I should apply which style.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Lokman, for your very insightful comments.
Yeah.
Now,
thanks a lot, Laura. As a last comment, and this is going to be quick and short. And thanks a lot for recording this session. If we are allowed, I would like to share this session with my colleagues or with some people who are interested with this type of information about leadership, as well as studying in SSBR, which I believe is bringing a lot to us. Thanks a lot. Over to you.
Of course, thank you, and that would be fantastic. And remember that you have, as an SSBR student, you have the option of being able to have a one-to-one with David. So remember, there's only 4 slots available, and now not just for Lokman, but for everybody else, there's only 4 slots available for the one-to-one sessions. And only for SSBR students. You have until next week. So you can feel free to start booking it now, because I'm sure that they're going to be booked. I don't know, David, you're probably already getting bookings. I know you told me that this usually happens quick. So Okay,
Yes.
so thank you.
Let's see.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Any other questions or any other comments for David? Now is your chance.
Now or never.
No, everybody is shy. Everybody else is shy. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us live. And of course, thank you, David, for everything. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. And this is just the kickoff. So we've started this guest speaker session with experts in different fields who are going to be giving us 1 hour workshop, shall we say, or lectures about their specific field and how we can apply it to our professions. And this is a great way to kick it off. I couldn't have thought of a better person to begin with. So thank you again, David. Have a good evening, everybody. And tomorrow I will be sharing with you the video replay of this session via email. So make sure that you check your inboxes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Have a
Have a
great
good
evening to
evening.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.